Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This is my top 10 stocks as we head into Thursday, April 4th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you're someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. And then also for you Bitcoin traders, I will do a Bitcoin bonus analysis at the end. First off, a couple of clarifications. Number one, the candlestick that you see right there will be moving around. That is because the market's still open for a small amount of time. But I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here represents 30 minutes worth of time. So ticker symbol number one, TLRY. And big breakout today. This will mean a little bit more to those of you that watch previous videos, because if you did, then hopefully remember me talking about this pattern here, and specifically that trend line right there. And you can see the price came up and struggled with it a little bit, but then when the break finally happened, you can see just essentially straight up, and now a very impressive move. And this is all occurring with good solid volume, so there's definitely a lot of things to keep an eye on here moving forward in terms of the price action. And the first thing I'm going to do is actually just a little house cleaning, get rid of these lines as they serve their purpose for now. Whoops, let's get that out of there. There we go. And map out some of the newer levels. So the first key level that I would watch from a support standpoint, if you're somebody that likes to play pullbacks, would be down here around this previous breakout point of $2.63. I realize that's quite a bit of ways down, but that just kind of shows the nature of the move itself. Huge explosion up, so that does tend to create some spaces between areas of support. But I mean, even from a big picture standpoint, if the price were to drop down there and bounce around and then head back up, I mean, from the big picture point of view, you'd still have a set of lows there, and lows there, and lows there, and lows there. You envision those as stair steps, and stair steps would still very clearly be going in the upwards direction. So that can seem like a far ways away, but ultimately still plenty healthy for the chart. And then in terms of areas of resistance, nothing fancy here. Let me change that to red for resistance. Just a question of where did the party and momentum finally stop today, and that was right up there at $2.90 area. So keep an eye on that. But all things considered, very impressive movement. Next one, ticker symbol KTRA, and overall started off nice on the day, and then things fell apart quite a bit as price was up here and then really just dropped. But what makes this interesting is that the price has now finally at least started to go sideways. Now let me be very clear, just because the price has gone sideways does not mean for sure guaranteed it's headed back upwards, but it becomes a little bit more plausible at this point in time. Case in point, let's just say that the price was still just dropping, and I'm sitting here saying, hey, it's looking like this could be the bottom. You'd be totally justified. I'd say, based on what? The price is still just dropping. But in this situation, the price has started to go sideways. So does that guarantee anything? No, but it certainly makes it more plausible that maybe this 15-cent mark is some sort of bottom, so that will be the key level of support. And this thing is very well, potentially getting ready to curl back upwards, especially when you take in, take into consideration right there the last 30 minutes, nice little green candle here starting to form. So is this bottom finally in? Is this thing getting ready to turn back around? That's a big question mark moving into Thursday, but if you like penny stocks, I'd certainly keep an eye on it. Next one here, ABIO, and I'm going to go through this very quickly because it's essentially just what I talked about. So again, the price made a nice move up, pulled back here, very nasty 30-minute candle right there, and then the price has started to go sideways. So now it just becomes that same question. It's starting to head back up, but is this a bigger move back to the upside? Same general idea that I just talked about. So biggest difference here, this one is not a penny stock. So if you like to play more so stocks up above that dollar mark, but still keep it, down below $10 mark, then this sits, fits within that same general idea. So big move back, got some sideways movement, slightly creeping upwards. Is there more to come? We'll see what happens. Next one, ticker symbol VVPR. Did this one yesterday, and a little bit of a tricky chart to talk about from my perspective, presentation standpoint, because it's a lot of has to do with your viewpoint. I mean, if you're some sort of day trader and you bought right there and your plan was to buy and sell within 20 minutes, well then yes, from that perspective, the chart looks absolutely terrible. But if you do care about the big picture point of view, let's just consider where the lows are. And let's just say the price actually drops down to $6. Not saying it will, but for argument's sake, so let's say it drops down to $6. Well, then what would you have? Well, you'd have a set of lows there. You'd have lows there. You'd have lows down here. And if you envision those as stair steps, big picture-wise, you'd still very clearly have stair steps making progress in the upwards direction. Again, that assumes that it drops down to $6, which it very well may not. Now, again, if you're some sort of day trader or scalper and you were the person that was buying up there, then yeah, you don't care about these stair steps. But that's why I'm trying to, kind of distinguish between the viewpoints here. So big picture-wise, even with the pullback, the chart is still perfectly fine. Nothing goes straight up. You want to have higher highs, and that's what you have here. There's a high, there's a high, there's a high. You want to have higher lows. There's a low, there's a low, there's a low. So from that angle, the overall trend is still up. But like I said, depending on what you bought and what your strategy was, maybe you think this is an absolute train wreck, and it could be. But like I said, big picture-wise, the bulls are still in control. Next one here, AMC, and what I talked about in yesterday's video just fell flat on its face. I made a note of how the price had broken above that red trend line right there. So the big question mark going into today was, hey, is this the start of a bigger move? And it was not. You can see the price totally just collapsed, rolled back over. So back to the drawing board it goes. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this line here as it has served its purpose. And now it's just another question of, how low does this thing want to go? And like I've talked about in the past ones, it's a little interesting here just because, and I follow this one because it is a cult stock. And these cult stocks, just all it takes is something, even the little bit of bad news that wasn't as bad as it was supposed to be, and it can produce some upwards movements. But you can see very clearly here, price has started to go sideways. So as I've already talked about, does that guarantee it's the bottom? No, but it makes it a little bit more plausible, and you sprinkle in the fact that this is a cult stock, and it just becomes that much more interesting. So AMC did not get any sort of turnaround, put in the new lows, but with the sideways movement, it does keep it relatively interesting in the sense of cult stock with some sideways movement that's been absolutely hammered down. Is there going to be some sort of bounce? So if you like these sorts of scenarios, certainly keep an eye on it. Real quick, want to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online webinar that I'm offering very soon. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to build consistency and manage risk, then definitely get signed up for the free webinar. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box. Or if you're watching at my website, there's an area on the page there that you can use to get signed up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying, then definitely get signed up for the free class. Next one, VNDA, and a nice pattern here. So let's just get right to drawing in this pattern. And for those of you that like these situations, and I'm sure you're going to want to, maybe you're already aware of it, but if not, you should definitely be aware of it. Let me adjust that down a little bit. So red for resistance, and then let's get the downwards channel part of it. So green for support, and maybe just to make this easier to see. And I should note that, yes, in the very near term, there's no doubt about it. You can't deny the fact that there has been a pullback. There has been this downward channel. But assuming you care about the big picture of things, you're going to be asking yourself, okay, yeah, fair enough. There is this downward channel right now that has formed. But what was going on before this downward channel? And you would say, well, there's this huge explosion right here, which is now giving me the ability to draw this bull flag pattern. Just because something's bullish does not mean it's going to go to the upside. But nonetheless, if you do like bull flag patterns, you like stocks down below $10, certainly keep an eye on VNDA. Next one here, TSLA Tesla, and I'm going to turn this into a quick sales pitch here because for those of you that watched the video from yesterday, I hope you remember me talking about that area of support right there. I mean, check it out. You can't make this stuff up. Opening 30 minutes, price came down there and bounced essentially directly off that level. So for anybody that took that trade, big congratulations. But again, a good example on the power of charts and why they are not a perfect tool, but a certainly worthwhile tool. So moving forward, continue to watch 163.50. That does remain the key area of support down there. But the interesting dynamic here is we do have a breakout finally of that resistance trend line. And there is a bit of a, upwards breakout here. But what's more interesting, now that I think about it, it's becoming a common theme, is we're getting at least some sideways movement, which in this situation, it's a good thing because there's nothing worse than if you've tread long enough. I'm sure you've had these situations where something breaks out and then just rolls right back over. But that's not the case here. It's broken out, and while it hasn't continued to explode, it's at least gone sideways and hasn't given back all its gains or anything like that. So you can at least introduce the talking point of, okay, maybe this is just a little bit of a break before another big move in the upwards direction. So Tesla got the bounce right there. It got the break right there. And now moving forward, it's just a question of, is this just a little rest before more upside movement? We'll see what happens. Next one, SOFI. Very nice mover today. And what makes this most interesting, in my opinion at least, is how the price is now sitting right up here at a very well-defined area of resistance that you got to think everybody and their brother's uncle has noticed. And I make that comment because when a lot of people are watching the same levels and wondering the same thing, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can produce some very dynamic movement. So going back through the history of things, you can see that right there it acted as resistance. Didn't hit it exactly, but same general vicinity. Right there acted as resistance. And then even today, acted as resistance. So you got to think a ton of people are watching $7.60. So while there is no guaranteed, is it plausible? Is it valid to think that the price can come up to that level and get the break up through there? That break in and of itself right there could create additional buying pressure? Absolutely. So all eyes on $7.60. Can the price break through it? We'll see what happens. Next one, ACB. Very, very nice mover today. Huge volume, great price movement. And now it's sitting here within this pattern here that you got to think a lot of people are watching. Actually kind of sitting right at the top of what I would consider the main area of resistance right here at about $7.25, give or take. And as I speak, and this is why I like to do these when the markets are open, you can see that right now the price is currently doing battle with the area right there. So does it break? We'll see what happens. Now, like I said, the market closes here in about 15 minutes. So when you watch this video, if you're saying, what are you talking about, Clay? The price is well above that break. Then that just tells you that the bulls returned even stronger than what they are right now. Because, yeah, there's no doubt about it. Bulls have shown up, but you'll have more information. You'll notice, you'll know whether or not the price got the break. If it did get the break, then you get to ask yourself the very, very exciting question of, okay, is this breakout the start of something even bigger? Always a good question, because right now the question is, can the price break through that level? But if it does break through it, you get to ask the even better question, is it the start of something bigger? If the price does pull back a little bit here, the main pullback area for those of you that like to play those pullbacks right down there around $6.55. But all things considered, very impressive movement today. Very nice overall uptrend. If I bring this down like this, you can see higher highs and higher lows, with today being a very big higher high. So definitely keep an eye on it moving forward. Next one, TQQQ, which is an ETF that measures the NASDAQ market. So if you believe the NASDAQ market as a whole is going to go up, this one will also go up, and it makes it a very popular ETF. And overall, I mean, it's hanging in there. Nothing crazy. Now, it had some wild movement earlier on in the day. You can see that big old, huge 30-minute session right there. And then ultimately, the price has rolled back over relative to that pink line right there, which is that 200 period moving average. So you can see for quite a while, it did a fantastic job of staying above it. And then at that point right there, the price just couldn't quite hold above it, and you can see the big flush happen there. Although, to be fair, as I speak, you can see last 30 minutes right here, looking pretty good, looking pretty solid. But moving into Thursday, the main area of resistance is now going to be this little clump of moving averages right there, which essentially puts the resistance at that $61 mark. So keep an eye on that if that bounce continues. In terms of areas of support, certainly the major level from an overarching standpoint right there at $59. But more in the near term, it's going to be right there, which it bounced off of essentially that $60 mark. So $60 mark would be the preferable level of support, but the price does not hold above there. The next key level would be 59, which is where the price bounced off of right there. So that wraps up the top 10 stocks. I'll get to Bitcoin here in just a second, but for you stock traders, definitely go get signed up for that class. Like I said, it'll be Thursday, April 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so definitely go get signed up. Now for you Bitcoin traders, let's talk some Bitcoin. One quick clarification here. We are no longer looking at the 30-minute time frame. We are looking at the 4-hour time frame. Given Bitcoin is open 24/7, I want this to remain relevant for as long as possible. But it's a very straightforward setup at this situation. So we're just going to get right into it, and I'm going to get it drawn out, and we'll use just some annotation here. But we have a nice upwards bounce here that has occurred. Now let's go with the yellow here. But we have a upwards bounce here. We have a flat little resistance right there, and then before all this occurred, what was going on? Well, you had this big downwards move right here. So that's just a long way of saying we have a bear pennant pattern. I mentioned earlier, just because there's a bullish pattern does not mean the price is going to go up. Same is true for a bearish pattern. Just because something's bearish does not mean the price is going to go down. But the big question mark moving forward is who's going to ultimately win out. Now, if you're watching this video 15, 20 hours from now, you're going to have a whole lot more data. You're probably going to have that answer. You're going to know, did the bears ultimately push down through, get continuation to the downside, which now brings about that 64,000 mark as a very important level of support. Or who knows, maybe the bulls ultimately battle back. They're able to push to the upside of the bear pennant pattern. But if you forced me into a corner and said, hey, you got to pick one, you got to go with the bears just because it is a bearish pattern. Again, that's just a probability situation, not any sort of guarantee. But that's, the easiest way to summarize Bitcoin right now is looking at the 4-hour time frame. You got the bear pennant pattern. Who's ultimately going to win this battle over the next 24 hours? We're going to get that answer. So that wraps up the video, and just as I invited the stock traders, for you Bitcoin and crypto traders, what I'll teach in this class will be definitely applicable to you, and you should be using it. So Thursday again, April 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern time, definitely go get signed up. And then overall, if you enjoy these videos, hit that like button, leave a comment below. Give me your watch list for tomorrow. Tell me what you traded today. But commenting that like button, help out the video, help out this channel as a whole, and I really do appreciate it. So take care. Have a good one.